When David Bowie died in 2016, Iman did one thing. She gave no interviews, made no statements, only posted a photograph on Instagram. The photo showed just a window with these words, "The struggle is real, but so is God." What did this mean? Some saw it as Iman's grief. Others thought it was concealing the truth. Because for 24 years, everyone had wondered, was David Bowie and Iman's marriage a real love story, or was it the perfect PR strategy designed to save Bowie's image? When they met on a blind date in 1990, Bowie's career was shaky and his past was full of scandals. 2 years later, they married. The press called it a fairy tale. But in 2014, after his cancer diagnosis, Iman made a decision, and that decision revealed the true nature of their marriage over the final 18 months. The truth was far more complex than anyone thought, and far more beautiful. If you want to hear this story until the end, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button to support us. Los Angeles, fall 1990. David Bowie was 43 years old, and his career was in uncertainty. After the success of Let's Dance, the albums that followed hadn't captured the same impact, and his past still haunted him. The Nazi salute scandal, the cocaine years, the chaotic marriage with Angie. The press was starting to see him as yesterday's star. That October, his hairdresser friend Teddy Antolin made a suggestion. "I want to introduce you to Iman." Bowie hesitated but eventually agreed. The meeting took place at a quiet restaurant in Los Angeles. When Iman walked in, a 35-year-old Somali supermodel, Bowie's world changed. Years later he would say, "The moment I saw her, it felt like my whole life had been waiting for that instant." Starting the next day, Bowie sent Iman different flowers every day for a week. This showed he was serious. They kept their relationship secret for the first few months. But when the media found out, reactions were mixed. Some newspapers found it romantic. Others were skeptical. A tabloid wrote, "Bowie's new strategy, cleaning up his image with a supermodel." This comment started speculation that would last for years. Bowie's management and PR team knew this relationship was perfect for Bowie's image. Iman was sophisticated, respected, and away from scandals. She was the complete opposite of Bowie's past, and some people began to think this was too perfect to be a coincidence. But Bowie and Iman didn't care about these rumors. Their relationship was deepening, and both knew it was real. In an interview, Iman said, "Whatever people think, my connection with David is real. Only we know that, and it's enough." In 1991, they began living together. They got an apartment in New York and merged their lives. This period was transformative for Bowie. After years of chaos and confusion, he had finally found peace. Iman's influence was visible in every area of Bowie's life. He started living healthier, completely avoiding alcohol and drugs. He focused on his music and his creativity was revived. Friends noticed this change. Tony Visconti, Bowie's producer, said, "David had changed, happier, more balanced, more himself." Iman had saved him, but some remained skeptical. One of Bowie's biographers wrote during this period, "We can't know if Bowie is truly in love with Iman, but what's certain is that this relationship is very good for his career." This comment strengthened the theory that their relationship was strategic. At the end of 1991, Bowie made a decision. He would propose to Iman, but he didn't know how to do it. A traditional proposal felt too cliché. Finally, he chose a simple and sincere way. One evening at home with just the two of them, he held Iman's hand and said, "Will you marry me?" Iman smiled through tears and said yes. Their wedding took place on April 24, 1992 in Florence, Italy. A small, intimate ceremony with only close friends and family. Bowie wore a black suit, Iman a white dress. The ceremony was simple but emotional. But the real celebration happened on June 6, 1992, in London. The second ceremony at St. James' Church was more elaborate, and the press was all over it. The world was talking about David Bowie and Iman's marriage. Some called it the wedding of the year. The press was generally positive, but underlying doubts continued. One British newspaper ran the headline, "Bowie's perfect move, renewing his image by marrying supermodel." These kinds of comments bothered Bowie and Iman, but both chose to remain silent. Iman said in an interview, "Whatever they think about our marriage, the truth is just between us." The early years of their marriage were more peaceful than anyone expected. They built a quiet life in New York, away from the press, private and happy. Bowie focused on his music and released several successful albums throughout the 1990s. Iman continued her career, but family had become the priority. On August 15, 2000, their daughter Alexandria Zara Jones was born. Bowie was 53 and extremely happy to be a father. Iman was 45 and motherhood had changed her. The couple was determined to keep Alexandria away from the media. They never shared photographs of their daughter and completely protected their private life. During this period, the theory that their marriage was strategic was almost forgotten, because everyone could see that Bowie and Iman were truly happy. They stayed together for years, never separated, never had a scandal. Even Bowie's old friends were surprised. Carlos Alomar, Bowie's guitarist, said David was a completely different person with Iman. He could be his true self, but still, some questions remained unanswered. Was Bowie really in love, or was this the longest-running PR strategy? Was the bond between them real, or were they both playing their roles perfectly? In 2004, something happened that tested the true nature of their marriage. Bowie had a heart attack on stage during a festival in Germany. He underwent emergency surgery, and his life was in danger. Iman, the moment she heard, flew to Germany on a private jet and was by Bowie's side. At the hospital, while Bowie was unconscious, Iman never left. Doctors, nurses, everyone saw Iman's dedication. This wasn't a PR strategy. This was the devotion shown by a real spouse. A nurse would later recount, "Iman was there as if the world depended on it. Watching her was heartbreaking." When Bowie recovered, he changed his life. He said he would no longer tour, would stay away from the stage, and would focus on his family. And he really did. After 2004, Bowie hardly ever went on stage. His priority was Iman and Alexandria. This event proved to many skeptics that Bowie and Iman's marriage was real, but still some approached with doubt. "Maybe they're just playing their roles very well," some voices said. In 2013, Bowie surprised everyone. After a 10-year break, he released the Next Day album. Nobody expected this. The album received great praise from both critics and fans. Bowie was back. But this return wasn't like Bowie in the past. He no longer toured, did very few interviews with the press. He just made music and returned home to Iman. In an interview, when asked why he didn't tour, Bowie answered, "I don't need it anymore. I'm happy being at home." Iman was also proud of Bowie's new album, but at the same time she was worried, because Bowie's health wasn't perfect. He had recovered after the heart attack, but his body was no longer as strong as before, and Iman knew that Bowie was pushing himself too hard. In the summer of 2014, David Bowie went to the doctor for a routine checkup, and there he received news that would change his life: liver cancer. It was in an early stage but dangerous. Doctors recommended aggressive chemotherapy. When Bowie got home, Iman was waiting. "What did they say?" she asked. Bowie silently approached her and held her hand. "Cancer," he said. Just 2 words. Iman's world stopped for a moment. Then she took a deep breath and asked, "What are we going to do?" This question showed the essence of their marriage. She had said, "we," not "you," because Iman knew she would be by Bowie's side, despite everything, and Bowie also knew he was no longer alone. Treatment began. Chemotherapy, side effects, fatigue, everything came. But Iman was there every step. Sometimes Bowie was very weak, couldn't walk. Iman helped him. Sometimes Bowie felt hopeless. Iman encouraged him. One day, after a chemotherapy session, Bowie said to Iman, "You know, some people thought our marriage was fake." Iman smiled and said, "I know." Bowie continued, "But they were wrong. You're everything to me." In mid-2015, something like a miracle happened. Bowie's cancer went into remission. Doctors were hopeful. Maybe Bowie had beaten this. Bowie and Iman were cautiously optimistic but careful. During this time, Bowie made a decision. he would make one last album. If he was going to live, he'd continue making music. If not, he wanted to leave something behind. Iman supported this decision. "Do it," she said. "Music has always healed you." In November 2015, bad news came. The cancer had returned, and this time it was much more aggressive. It had metastasized. Doctors were honest. Treatment options were exhausted. Bowie had months left. When Bowie received this news, Iman was beside him. After the doctor left the room, they sat silently. Then Bowie turned to Iman and said, "I'm sorry that I can't give you more time." Iman cried, but tried to stay strong. "You've given me enough time," she said. 24 years, that's a lifetime. In December, Bowie was making his final preparations. The Black Star album was almost finished. It would be released on January 8, 2016, on his own birthday. This was Bowie's final gift, both to the world and to himself. But at the same time, Bowie was spending time with his family. He played games with Alexandria, sat quietly with Iman. Every moment was precious, because every moment could be the last. One evening, Bowie and Iman were sitting at home, quietly. Bowie turned to Iman and said, "You know, when I met you, my life changed. You saved me." Iman shook her head. "No, David, we saved each other." On December 7th, there was the premiere of Bowie's Lazarus musical. Bowie went there, but he was very weak. Iman supported him. After the premiere ended, Bowie nearly collapsed. Iman took him home, and that night she stayed by Bowie's side. The following days, Bowie became even weaker. He could no longer walk. Iman helped him with everything, but Bowie still wanted to finish the album. Tony Visconti was calling from the studio, and they were discussing final details. On the morning of January 8, 2016, David Bowie woke up on his 69th birthday. The Black Star album had been released at midnight, and the world was celebrating. Social media was flooded with Bowie messages. Critics were calling the album the pinnacle of his career. Iman brought Bowie the laptop and showed him. "Look," she said, "everyone's celebrating you." Bowie looked at the screen and smiled. Weak but satisfied. "We did it," he said. "We left them something." That morning the family gathered around Bowie. Duncan, Alexandria, Iman, everyone was there. They had a small birthday celebration. Cake, candles, songs. But everyone knew this was the last birthday. In the afternoon, Bowie became very tired. He went back to bed, and Iman sat beside him. She held his hand and waited silently. Bowie closed his eyes and whispered, "Thank you for everything." January 9 was Bowie's last full day. He was now struggling to remain conscious. He was under morphine for pain control, but sometimes he'd open his eyes and see Iman, and every time he'd smile. Iman never left that day. She held his hand, stroked his hair, played music for him. Black Star album, Love Me Tender, Heroes, Bowie's favorite songs. Bowie listened, eyes closed, peaceful. In the evening, Bowie was a bit better. He opened his eyes and looked at Iman. "Are you still here?" he whispered. Iman smiled through tears. "I'm always here." Bowie nodded. "I know." Around midnight, Bowie fell asleep again, but this time his breathing was slower. Iman understood. The time had come. On the morning of January 10, at 7 a.m., David Bowie died. His family was beside him, quiet and peaceful. The 18-month battle had ended. Iman remained motionless for a while. Then she slowly got up, went to the window, and looked outside. The sun was just rising. A new day was beginning, but David was gone. In the afternoon, the official announcement was made. The world was shocked. David Bowie was dead. He was 69 years old. Fans cried, musicians paid respects. The world realized it had lost a legend. But Iman quietly stayed at home. She spoke to no one, made no statements. She only posted a photograph on Instagram, a window, and these words, "The struggle is real, but so is God." Bowie's funeral was kept private. His family, close friends, only they were there. No press, no cameras. Bowie had wanted it this way, and Iman respected his final wish. Days passed, and Iman still remained silent. Friends tried to support her, but Iman didn't want to talk to anyone. She just wanted to stay at home with Alexandria, with David's memories. A month later, Iman appeared in public for the first time, but still she gave no interviews. She just attended an event, calm and dignified. People conveyed their condolences. Iman thanked them, but didn't speak much. Everyone understood. Iman's grief was very deep. What few people knew was that Iman had made a promise to David. In his final days, Bowie had asked her, "Don't let them turn my death into a spectacle. Let me go quietly." And Iman was keeping that promise. Every interview request, every documentary offer, she declined them all because David had wanted peace, and Iman was giving him that peace, even after death. In the following years, people began to understand the truth. Some still believed the PR strategy theory, but most people saw the truth. Iman never remarried. "There was only one David for me, and he's gone," she said. On Instagram, she regularly shared Bowie's memories. Every year, on Bowie's birthday and death anniversary, a photograph and a few words. In 2020, in an interview, Iman finally spoke. "People thought our marriage was fake, but they knew nothing. David and I completed each other. He was my soul, I was his peace. And yes, maybe at the beginning, some people thought it was strategic, but for 24 years, every day, every moment, it was real." Tony Visconti, one of Bowie's closest friends, said, "David's love for Iman was real. Everyone who saw it knew. Iman saved him, and David loved her until his last breath." After Bowie's death, critics analyzed Iman's influence on his music. The conclusion: Iman had saved Bowie artistically as well. Before 1990, Bowie was lost. The Tin Machine project had failed. He was searching for his identity. But after meeting Iman, everything changed. Throughout the 1990s, Bowie released some of his best albums. Outside, Earthling, Ours all were created during the Iman period. One music critic wrote, "Iman gave Bowie peace, and this peace freed his creativity. He was no longer living in chaos, no longer trying to prove himself. He was just making music." Most importantly, Black Star, Bowie's final album, could never have been made without Iman's support. Because Bowie, while facing death, needed Iman's strength, and Iman gave him that strength. Tony Visconti said during the Black Star recordings, "David drew strength from Iman. Every day he'd go home and see her, and the next day he'd come back to the studio. Without Iman, there would be no Black Star." David Bowie's first wife Angie spoke after his death. Her words clarified everything. Angie on a TV program: "David was never happy with me. We were in chaos. Drugs, scandals, constant fighting. That was our marriage. But with Iman, he found real peace. I accept this. I respect Iman." This must have been difficult for Angie to say, because Angie had been a very important part of David's life for years. But in the end, she understood what Iman meant to David. She continued, "People thought Iman married strategically, but they're wrong. Iman truly loved David, and David truly loved Iman. I could never do that. I was too chaotic, too destructive. But Iman gave him what I couldn't: peace, stability, real love." This confession softened everyone's hearts, because Angie wasn't recognizing a rival. She was recognizing David's true love. And this recognition, from the person who knew Bowie's chaos best, was perhaps the most powerful proof that what Bowie and Iman had was real. David Bowie and Iman's marriage may have seemed strategic to some people at the beginning. Bowie's past was complicated, his image was damaged. Iman seemed perfect, respectable, away from scandals, full of grace. But over 24 years that marriage proved it was real. Heart attack, cancer, death, all tested Iman's commitment. Every time Iman was there, every time she showed her true love. Today Iman is 70 years old, still David Bowie's wife. She never remarried, never looked for anyone else. David was enough. And this is perhaps the strongest proof of true love. People still ask, was it real? The answer is now very clear. Yes. Maybe at the beginning there were some advantages, but in the end, over 24 years, every moment was real. And this reality continues even after death. David Bowie and Iman's story teaches us, true love conquers doubts, conquers time, even conquers death. Because for Iman, David is still alive, in her heart, in her memories, every day. And this is perhaps the most beautiful definition of love.